Hello, guys, and welcome to part 7 of ranking every Mario Kart track. In this episode, we're going to be ranking all the tracks from 160 to 141. Without further ado, let's go! 160 NS Excitebike Arena. Excitebike Arena is a track where you go back to the NES days where there was a game called Excitebike, and you play just like how you would have in a 2D version of that. So, obviously, it's gonna get ranked higher because of how cool it is. But also, it's just a longer baby park. Why are the straightaways so long is my only concern. 159 NS Twisted Mansion. You know what? It's always been weird to me because I've never been a huge fan of Twisted Mansion, and I don't think I ever had it in my top 20 Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tracks, even when the game released. But it's always been my favorite in the Flower Cup. Probably because I do love ghost stuff, and I do like the split paths. I love split paths in Mario Kart, where you can go different paths on different laps. It's so cool, and for that, it gets high. It's finally time to pay our respects to Super Mario Kart. 158 SNES Mario Circuit 2, the final Mario Circuit from SNES, the final SNES track. Let's go. I've always liked this one. Probably because, well, if this was an SNES track, obviously if this is the last one, obviously it would be ranked number 1. So why does it fall higher than everyone else? Mostly because on the 2D games you can't really do anything, but the giant ramp at the end sure doesn't really add much. Sure, it's a Mario Circuit track, but I think this giant ramp is enough to distinguish itself from the other Mario Circuit tracks and the other SNES tracks to the point where I have to put this in 158th. 157. 3DS, SNES, Mario Circuit 2. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the best track, but I don't think I should put this too far away from the original because it's really just the same thing. It's a Mario Circuit 2 track, but I do like the added shortcut early on in the track, and I do like the fact that now the ramp is a glider ramp, so that's why I'm putting this 157th. Yeah, 3DS may be my favorite game, and this may be my favorite SNES track, but for now, I can only see this 157th. 156 NS Thwomp Ruins. Thwomp Ruins had so much potential to be an epic track. Like, could you imagine just driving through, like, Ruins? That could be anything. That is your creativity. And I know that might be what they were thinking about. But for me personally, I'm not a big fan of it. And just the thwomps, they're just, I know it's called thwomp ruins, but they're just a bit of a nuisance. I'm sorry, I have to put thwomp ruins lower than I know many people probably would have. Oh, lady and gents, we have a tie. Well, not really, but close enough in the rankings that I will consider them a tie. And guess who it could possibly be? 155 DS GCN Yoshi Circuit, 154 NS GCN Yoshi Circuit, and 153 GCN Yoshi Circuit. Future me, put all three of them on the screen right now. Alright, so I'm just going to go over the basics. Of course, it's in a Yoshi's shape, which is cool and all until you get to the 20th time and it kind of gets boring. But I'm still a big fan of it. DS's, they just overscaled the GCN tracks. They didn't really botch this one as much as they usually do. 154 NS, well, I just preferred the GameCube one, probably because of the shortcuts that were missing in the NS version. And the same thing goes for GCN, the shortcuts that are in that version and not in the other versions. 152. DS N64 Banshee Boardwalk. This goes very well with 151 N64 Banshee Boardwalk, so I'll just list off why I put it here. Scary, can't see, it's hard to drive, but also it's a cool night-themed track. And the layout, I know I just complained about the turns, but I do think the layout's pretty cool. And I do like the fact that it's a hard asterisk track, so that's why I put it here. 150 DS Cheap Cheap Beach. Cheap Cheap Beach. What a wonderful sounding track name. I really hope it isn't the third track in the Mushroom Cup, or the fact that it if you go too far in the water, you're gonna die. Like what? What the point of this? But there's also a good thing. I do like the calming beach sensation. Usually in the mornings, I have my window open because I like to hear the sounds of nature, and playing on a beach track makes me feel like nature. 149. N64 Frappe Snowland. Frappe Snowland. It's such a wonderful, track that makes you feel like you're in a far, far away land. And that's what I like about life. Feeling like you're far away from anybody. That just explains a lot now that I really think about it. But also, it feels like my home. uh, Future me, show a picture of outside my window right now. It is really cold right now. Yes. And also, like, the snowmans, when you hit a snowman and you start flying, that's really funny. 148. 3DS Rosalina's Ice World. Rose, what is there to talk about? Like, this is what I feel like with these tracks, man. Like, there's nothing to talk about. Maybe I should call this the nothing to talk about tracks because it's just bland. I mean, yeah, sure, you could do split paths, which is probably why it's higher than most other people would put it, but it's just otherwise not that exciting. 147. GBA Yoshi Desert. It's a pretty inspiring track. Again, not much to say here, but I like the track. I like the theme. I like the person it's named about. Yoshi, of course. He's my favorite. But again, it's just a boring Mode 7 track, and that's all I can really say about these GBA tracks. I'm sorry, GBA fans, but you're boring. Please play a better game. 146 NSDS Mario Circuit. A boring track. You slap on rarely nothing, you get a boring result. Why is it boring? It's a Mario Circuit track. I know there's the fire plants and the wigglers, but what is that really going to do to improve a track that most people really forgot existed? Yeah, there's nothing to say about DS Mario Circuit. It should just go down the drain. 145. GBA Bowser Castle 2. The objective best GBA Bowser Castle track. Why? All of those split paths, all of those incredible jumps you have to make. Yeah, the thwomps can be a bit of a nuisance, but they really ever affect you and you could really easily get around them, unlike in Thwomp Ruins. The jumps on the split paths, I have to put this one number one of all the GBA Bowser Castle tracks. 144. NSDS Cheap Cheap Beach. Same reason as the DS one. Next. Just kidding. Why is it much better? The ramps. I know you can't. The ramps there, but you can trick off them now. You can do a little. You can drive a little bit more in the water. You can drive in the water. And the glider ramp at the beginning are all massive, massive improvements over the lame DS version that I had like 5 spots below this one. 143 NS Tour New York Minute. New York Minute. Why was it put in so late? Obviously, that's not going to affect. What is going to affect is all those split paths, baby. Woo! It's an old reference you'd get if you were around for a long time. And the reasons why it's down is because I just am not a huge fan of the layout. 142. GCN Dry Desert. Well, what do you want me to say, man? Like, if you're trying to get me to say something. Alright, well, Oasis is not there, so positive. Tornado is there, so positive. Piranha Plant is there, so positive. But it's a desert track, and that does slightly knock it down. And it's kind of hard to control. I know that falls more on the game. Don't hate the player, hate the game, but I have to hate the player for this one because it's so hard to control with the turns. I'm sorry. 141 GBA Cheap Cheap Island. This is just a track that you can imagine yourself sitting there as the sun sets, with the random country music song playing in the background. You see the other racers go by, and all those split paths, man, and the nature. Wow, it really does deserve 141st. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you don't dislike the video because of how bad my opinions are, because you're wrong. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel. Every subscription counts. And I'll see you guys for the next video on the Dazod 500 channel.